Hello everyone. This is the fifth part of the story, Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Chapter 21. With the curse gone thanks to Apollo, I decided to focus on my demigod training for the moment. The last mission had proved I was less than good when it came to it. Heck, I had to push my body to the very limit twice by casting spells when I shouldn't have. So, as to avoid being the youngest demigod of my generation to die, I decided to improve that. I did not want to be that close to death ever again if possible, so it was time to train. And by train, I mean getting my ass mercilessly kicked over and over and over and over, and you guessed it, over again. How can I be so good with magic and bows but suck so hard in other forms of combat? This was frustrating. I'm not sure what has gotten into you, Annabeth smiled, helping me stand up after the ass-kicking she had delivered. Not that I don't enjoy defeating you, over and over and over and over again, but any reason why you are doing this? Well, you see, there is nothing I enjoy more than a woman beating to a pulp, maybe a woman in leather beating me to a pulp. I snorted at her expression of shock. Well, I want to be more reliable. Without my magic, I struggled a lot to not die, and girl, I do not want to die, so here I am getting my ass kicked by you. I sighed. I can't believe there are people that pay for this. I added with a chuckle.
Ew.
Annabeth chuckled. Well, then I have to say you are improving. I think the daily ass-kicking is imparting you with some battle wisdom. Very funny. I rolled my eyes at her low-tier joke. The only one that could make bad jokes here was me. But in all seriousness, I find what you're doing remarkable, Annabeth smiled. Trying to improve yourself beyond your talents is something worthy of praise. I suppose, it takes a big man to not be bothered by the fact he is losing 100% of the fights, for now. Oh, that was a lie. I was bothered, very bothered, so much in fact that I was eagerly waiting for the day to kick her ass. Day by day my vindictive rage grew, asking for petty revenge if only Annabeth knew she was going to suffer an overly planned overtop prank the moment after I beat her. I suppose, but don't feel too bad for losing. I doubt anyone here could win against you if you used your magic. Yes, I know that so far you are pretty average in armed and unarmed combat, but with magic, you have no equal in the camp, Annabeth stated. The average thing was uncalled for and honestly quite hurtful, I said, pretending to be hurt. I called them like I see them, Annabeth chuckled. Hey, guys, Lee came running. Uncle, Miss Godly Locks, he bowed, greeting us both. I have straight hair. God, why did you start that nickname, Adam? Annabeth groaned, rubbing her temples with clear annoyance. Not for long.
Mwahahaha. Mwahahaha. Mwahahaha.
Ruck Ray Raya Orf 8 Yad. What in the? Annabeth shouted in shock, seeing her hair turn curly, and immediately knew it was me, so turning to me with mild anger, she growled, "This better be temporary." Don't be angry, I think you rock this look, I chuckled. Lee was at this point on the ground laughing so hard he didn't make any sound. You think that? Annabeth started to growl but then saw her reflection in my sword and hummed, you know what, I look kinda cute with this look. Maybe I will use you as a hairdresser more often, to change things up. Analyzing data, report completed, prank backfired, aborting pranking protocol, you will never catch me alive. I immediately did what any man in my situation would do, and ran. You could make a lot of money with the girls of the camp. Annabeth shouted as she ran after me, the daughters of Aphrodite would pay you a lot to change their hair and make them clothes. Money? Lots of them? This time I did once again what any man in my position would. I ran back to Annabeth and said, I am open Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and you need an appointment to see me. Really, was that easy to convince you? Annabeth laughed. What can I say? I have the power to target a demographic no other provider can, so I'ma exploit the heck out of that, I smiled. already thinking what I would commission for Hephaestus' cabin with all the money I would make. All right, I'll start spreading the news then, Annabeth said, with a smile. That was unexpected, Lee commented.
Meh.
I shrugged. Well, Annabeth was right. The girls and apparently some of the boys in the camp were quite enthusiastic at the idea of having a magical hairdresser to change their looks, with the children of Aphrodite being the first ones to go to my cabin, both boys and girls. They were quite metrosexual, those kids. One even brought a tent just in case he had to sleep outside, like those people waiting for the new iPhone and shit. But I couldn't help her wonder, where did they get the money to pay me? None of them worked, and we didn't get paid for the chores at the camp. Did they have a godly allowance I was not aware of? And if so, how much did they get so as to market my services in a way that would lead me to get all of their money? Hi. I came for a new hairstyle and mustache removal. That voice, Clarice? Hi. I couldn't help but laugh like a madman as I saw the half-bald Clarice standing in front of me, with the magical mustache I had attached to her face still standing. All right, I had my fun. Now tell me what hairstyle you want, I said, wiping a few tears off my face, which did not to placate her anger. But even then she did nothing. She had a new emotion for me, fear. I want my old hair back, Clarice replied. Sure, why not? I chuckled. Chapter 22. Training with Annabeth, resting, and repeating the cycle over and over again. I was ashamed to admit my routine had become somewhat predictable, turning my days to a quite monotonic tone of repetition. But it was not as if I had anything better to do. I had to learn how to fight without magic. Besides, my magic book had not changed at all since that time during the quest, which led me to believe that it would only change in moments of utmost urgency, or in a sideline crazier theory when the current chapter was mastered, aka the chapter of mnemonic incantation. If my theory was true, I would see a change in the book very soon, since I considered I was close to reaching the point where I could be considered a master of the first chapter. But I really didn't know what kind of requirements the book would have to consider me as such or to let me advance on its contents. But until that happened, here I was training like a bastard, which is technically correct. I am a bastard in a way. You're getting pretty good at it, Annabeth chimed in from the stands as I fought, or rather struggled against the future traitor, the son of Hermes. Luke, it's admirable to see you have such a resolve. But training so much will only get you into trouble later on. You are overworking your body. Dodging the edge of Luke's sword by a few inches, I looked at Annabeth and said, not a particularly good time, Goldie. It was hard enough to fight Luke, who was way better than me with the sword, but to do so while having a conversation? Nope, so I resolved to ignore the most annoying demigoddess in camp. Well, the second most annoying in camp. Unfortunately, it was too late for my resolve to ignore her, because the second I looked at Annabeth to reply, everything went downhill. Luke, being more seasoned than me at the art of fighting, took this opportunity and hit me with the blunt side of his blade, knocking me flat to the ground, thus winning the duel. With his sword on my throat, there was nothing else to do but to admit defeat. For the, I lost count, I surrender. Never take your eyes off the enemy, Luke advised me as he extended a helping hand to help me stand from the ground. Yes, I replied as I looked at Annabeth with annoyance, to which she simply shrugged. God, I wanted to be mad at her, but I just couldn't. I knew very well that even without her interference, I would have lost. She simply accelerated the process. You should use your magic in our duels, Luke offered with a smile. With your magic, I have no doubt you would win every duel. That would defeat the purpose of what I am doing, I replied, as I shook the dirt off my pants. I didn't want to win. Well, I did. But not with magic. This wasn't a death battle or something along those lines, so I was under no obligation of using my magic. And I wanted to become a better fighter, a well-rounded one, and these beatings I was taking were giving me results. Luke smiled one last time, before he left the training yard. You're right. Did you want something, Goldie? I asked Annabeth, who was walking towards me. Just here to remind you that you have to rest. Annabeth rolled her eyes at me. You have been training for 13 hours today, and just by looking over you I can see the wounds. You need to stop overworking yourself. Hey, chicks dig men with scars. I'm just here making myself more beautiful, I joked, getting a playful punch as a response on her part. As if, Annabeth snorted in amusement. Let's go and have lunch. Lee wants to challenge you to an eating contest again. When will he learn I am unmatched when it comes to eating free food? I chuckled. Oh, poor Lee. Soon he would once again, unironically taste defeat. You know what? Scratch that, he will ironically be tasting his defeat. Apollo point of view. Mom didn't know when Artemis and I went to ask her if she could tell us who Adam's father was and if he was a god. She answered with total honesty that she didn't know, that she was certain he was a human because she had known him for a while because they had dated for a few months. All she knew now is that he disappeared the moment she became pregnant. She told us how for months she looked for him in hopes so she could give Adam a paternal figure, but she didn't find him anywhere. When Artemis heard this she exploded with anger. But that rage was quickly replaced by doubt, when we started to investigate the man with the information that Mom had given us, and to sum it up, there was nothing. Nothing at all. It is as if the guy never existed, to begin with. Do you think Father killed the man? Artemis said, bringing out a good point. There was a very high chance Father killed Adam's father in a fit of jealousy. Even though father and mother are not together, it was a possibility. It's possible but highly unlikely. While such actions were not out of his normal reactions to things he didn't like, I doubted he was behind this event because if he wanted to hurt mother for sleeping with a mortal, he would have also killed Adam. Father was not known for his subtlety. Then what a human disappeared into thin air? Artemis scoffed and then turned to me. What if the man wasn't a human like Mom confirmed? There had been some shapeshifters able to fool the gods before. Is a possibility, but if that were the case, Adam would have inherited shape-shifting skills, not magic. And certainly not magic on this level. I sighed. Our little bro was turning to be more and more puzzling than I first imagined. Chapter 23. The weapon of Zeus, the king of Olympus, had been stolen. The most powerful weapon in existence, the fucking master bolt, was lost, and the supernatural world of the gods was in utter chaos, and I had to admit that I had no fucking idea how Luke managed to steal the weapon, and I don't mean the fact he managed to take it. Zeus, no, I mean the guy fucks all day long with anything with a pulse, and without a pulse, completely neglecting his wife, so stealing from him should be in theory easy. What I mean was the fact that for weeks I have been watching Luke with my magic. And yet he managed to escape from my sights, both literal and magical, and from the camp, to steal the weapon. How did he do that? No idea, but the guy was good, I had to admit it, that, or he had stolen the weapon way before I came. This would leave us to question how incompetent was Zeus to not notice his weapon was missing for a couple of months. Oh well, no time to figure out if Luke did a Houdini on us or Zeus just didn't notice until now. I hope it is the latter, otherwise my magic game is being circumvented by him and I don't like that. Not at all, considering his boss, anyway. I am very concerned about certain details about this event. Normally I would just let bygones be bygones. I mean, Percy is about to come and save the day. But there were certain incriminating things about me and this event that would lead me to an early grave, like the fact I had previously taken Apollo's weapon. And if anyone else found out, I would die. But why, Adam, why must you be pessimistic? Well, allow me to illuminate. See, Zeus is as paranoid as they come, maybe even more. So if he discovers or hears I was able to summon Apollo's weapon without his consent, he would connect some very bad dots for me, which in turn would end with me being electrocuted to the afterlife or Tartarus, probably Tartarus. And before I hear anyone say, your siblings would never betray you. Well, that is partly true, but Apollo won't be able to help it. He is the god of truth and he always says the truth, which fucks my life if they ask him. So in front of me, I had two options, recovering the master bolt myself from Ares, or hoping that no one asks Apollo the right questions. Or I could always anonymously hint Ares has the weapons if push comes to shove.
Yeah.
The last one works, or doesn't. I didn't really know, because I had no idea if my canon knowledge was canonical anymore. I mean, for all I knew, my presence here changed who Luke gave the weapons to. So in the meantime, I shall be as secondary as possible. I will be so secondary that if ever make an anime out of me, I will be one of those characters they draw in the back to fill the environment. Wanna join the arena later on? Annabeth said as she walked up to me with a smirk, while I was currently doing sit-ups out my cabin as part of my training to gain some extra needed stamina. With your current skills, I am sure you will get a nice position, and probably a hefty price. Annabeth, I am the sole provider of haircuts and clothes and games in the camp. Money, it's not a problem, I smirked, wiping the sweat of my training with money. Was that necessary? Annabeth chuckled. Yes, I had to assert my dominance. I laughed, drying the money with magic. Not but for real, I don't need the money, I have all the sweaty money I need. Very well, but you are coming to see the fights at least, right? Annabeth asked with a smile. Sure, why not? I nodded. It should be a nice change of pace seeing others getting their asses kicked, which reminds me, if you ever hit me in the nuts again, I will erase your tits out of existence, not that you have any. I muttered the last part just for me to hear as I remembered how she had won the last duel with a super kick to my boys. My poor boys. You almost won our last duel. Annabeth chuckled. I saw a window for victory and I took it. Annabeth, if you ever see that window again, you better not take it. I said, narrowing my eyes at her into a thin line. That is a window you never take, I mean. I avoid hitting you on the breasts, which by the is a privilege you lost with the last nut shot. So next duel be sure to have some armor up there unless you want a tit shoot. Annabeth sighed and then shuddered. I don't think I want to fight against you anymore. I have a strong feeling you will seek revenge on my chest area. I will avenge my boys one way or another, Annabeth, I will avenge them. I declared to the winds. Is that what a gentleman would do? Oh, trying to play the gentleman card. I believe in gender equality, I smiled at her. Weaponizing my beliefs. Well played, Annabeth clapped her hands admitting she had lost against me in an argument, which for the children of Athena was a rarity. I play to win, I chuckled, but in all seriousness, I will be there to see you kick some demigod arse. Perfect, Annabeth perked up at that, so that means no revenge?
Oh no.
I will have my revenge, but that will come when you least expect it. I laughed like a madman, leaving a very concerned Annabeth behind. I felt bad for her, but it was out of my hands. She had crossed a line, one a man upholds above all, and now I had to plan a very elaborate and over-the-top prank to ruin her first encounter with Percy. Chapter 24. Percy had arrived at the camp and had met Pennywise. I mean, Annabeth, who I cursed to look like Pennywise for a whole day. Percy's expression and Annabeth's pained expression as she showed Percy around the camp made my day. After enjoying my revenge for a couple of hours, taking lots of pictures for posterity, I decided to go to the camp library secret section. Chiron does not allow anyone else but him to enter, to continue with my reading about the other pantheons in this world, which for some reason the Greek gods wanted us to think they were fake. Okay, I take it back. I think I know why the gods want us not to believe in any other pantheon, because without human belief the gods would die, or fade to be more precise. You see, gods need humans, or mortals to be precise, to exist, at least in this universe. So when humans start to forget about said God just goes puff. At first, I thought this theory to be bullshit. I mean, what happens when a new God is born? How can humans know about him or her, and how can they believe in him or her? They can't. Which in turn would mean they would immediately vanish, so I continued my research about this little phenomenon and found my answer. The fading or absolute death of the gods is caused by a variety of reasons according to the books, but the main ones are 1. The decline of a god's realm. This implies that people no longer use the realm said god has control of, or simply do not believe in it. For example, if people stopped believing in agriculture, Demeter would die, but with agriculture being so necessary, I highly doubt that will ever happen. Reason number 2 is, gods can die if people completely abandon their belief in them and what they represent. For this reason, gods that are not well remembered or were never worshipped in the first place usually end up fading. Although this is very rare, most of the gods exist because people believe in their realms, not them. I doubt many worship Zeus, but they do use his realm quite a lot. And the last reason, which I call the suicide reason, is if a god loses the will to remain immortal or loses faith in himself, he can begin the process of his death. Of course, this can take a long time since the people and the beliefs in their respective realms can keep the god alive against his or her will. Mortals had immense power over the gods, something Zeus despised. Heck, the main reason the Roman pantheon was even a thing was that the Romans and the Greeks saw the gods very differently, but at the same time the same, which ended up with the Greek gods having split personalities and stuff. So, I basically have to start a religion to become a god. Huh, I hummed, the Church of Pranks and Magic. I will work on that later. Ding. Oh, my very convenient magical alarm that tells me when Chiron is nearby. I love magic, Troplet OTYM Nyback, and just like that, I was back in my cabin, with a lot of information, and not really practical ways to use it. One day this will come in handy. Knock. I turned to the door, and I curiously approached to see who was knocking on the door, and through the window I saw that Pennybeth and Percy were at the door, talking. Pennybeth, random guy, what can I do for you? I greeted. I will kill you, Annabeth growled. I can make it permanent, so behave, I smirked. Little did she know I couldn't make it permanent, but what she doesn't know doesn't hurt her. You are just a bully, Percy stated, with a dare I say, angry tone. Let's use my sometimes useful, sometimes useless power to read his emotion. Angry, guess I didn't need to use it. Me? A bully? I chortled in amusement. Maybe? I mean, I need time to process this. I have come to a decision and I am not a bully, just a very vindictive guy. Maybe because you can't stand to lose, Percy snorted, still angry. Okay, hold the fucking on. How and why is he taking my prank so seriously? I mean, he barely knows Annabeth. Alright, I seem to have awoken some hostile feelings from you, but I'll be honest, I don't care. But if you must know, this was my revenge for the nut punch she delivered during our last match, I chuckled. She punched you in there? Percy asked, pointing to the affected area. Yep, and my boys demanded vengeance, I nodded. Oh, well, sorry then, I thought you were just a bully, Percy chuckled. Really? That's it? Annabeth chuckled. I punch him in the groin and everything is okay? Yes, both Percy and I said with one voice. It's the one place you don't hit a man, Percy stated, and I nodded. So, did you two have a reason to be here, besides trying to make the new guy hate me? I asked with a smile. I wanted to show Percy the local prankster and the best magic user on the camp, Pennybeth sighed, pointing to herself as proof. As you can see, Percy, he is really talented with magic, and I hate him for it. PFF. Nah. You love me, I snorted. As if, Annabeth snorted. You can use magic? Like those magicians in Las Vegas? Percy asked, and for a moment I wondered if he was being serious or not. And then I remembered that even after seeing a minotaur trying to snack on him, he didn't outright believe in this world. Is he for real? I had to ask. Yes, unfortunately, yes, Annabeth nodded, with a pained expression. Annabeth, you already have too much suffering dealing with him, I sighed. Dealing with Sushi Brain was going to be more painful for her than my curse, so I did the right thing and undid my curse, partially. I kind of liked the Pennywise hairstyle on her, so I will keep that for the day. You are partially free of my curse. How did you, what? Percy muttered as I closed the door on them. Chapter 25. With Percy in the camp, I started to focus on staying on the sidelines, drawing as little attention as possible. I needed to be virtually invisible for my escape plan to succeed. Don't get me wrong, I love the camp as much as I can, but I don't want to stay under a place dear old paranoid Zeus controls. He was a crazy king that saw plots where there were none, and I wanted no part in it. But fear not, for I have a plan. You see, I will wait for Percy to go on his quest to retrieve the Master Bolt and for his mom to start my escape. My idea was simple and based on what I knew about Luke, who confirmed to me the gods were not as all-seeing as I originally thought them to be. If they were, well, Luke would be dead and there would be no quest. The point was, I was going to take advantage of the inner conflict between the gods during this quest to escape. And the best part is that they would never find out how. Well, during the last few weeks I've been testing my golems on the resident god of the camp, to see if he sees them for what they truly are, and little by little I have managed to create something Mr. D can't truly see for what it is. I mean, I have no doubt if he really wanted to see through my golem he could, but the guy barely puts any effort into anything related to the camp. So his I don't give a fuck about this camp attitude worked perfectly. And with that in mind, I created a magical golem of me, being a perfect replica, a masterful construct that will fool the camp and its inhabitants, and will allow me to explore the world and come back as I see it fit. And that wasn't even the best part. The golem worked a teleport beacon, meaning I would be able to teleport to the golem location if any god other than Mr. D appeared in the camp, knowing full well any other would see right through him. With this, I had no doubt I would succeed in my endeavors, which were no longer just being free. I had now more interesting goals, like meeting other pantheons. For what reason? To learn their magic. I think my eyes are a shade darker, I hummed as I tweaked my golem. Just a bit, a voice agreed.
Yeah.
I have been caught, hasn't it? Well, it's been a while, Murphy, glad you could join. Don't be so tense, the person behind me giggled, I find your work admirable. I turned around to find a 9-year-old girl standing in front of my fireplace, her auburn hair moving in synchrony with the flames and her golden eyes shining like beacons of light. I could feel immeasurable power coming from her alongside a powerful smell of burnt wood and marshmallows. That was oddly a very relaxing mix, Hestia. I instinctively said, deep down being that what I said was nothing but the absolute truth. Hestia was standing in front of me, and yet I felt fine, like even better than with my siblings. The feeling was like being home. Hi, Hestia smiled, so you will use this to escape. I can see how this will fool my nephew, but I can also see how it will fail. Not like it will work anymore, I sighed. So is this the part where you take me to Olympus to meet my fate? I joked. Oh dear no, Hestia shook her head with a smile. I won't snitch on you, that's how kids say it now these days, right? I nodded. So, you will let me go? I asked. I don't see why not. I know the outside world is dangerous, but I can see you want to see
so
much and do so much. Hestia smiled, giving me a hug out of the blue. You are the living embodiment of free will, and free spirits cannot be caged. Thanks. I was speechless. I knew for a fact she was the best of the Olympians, but I didn't expect her to be so I don't know, warm. I don't even have words to describe her personality, more than the fact she reminded me of Sally, with both individuals being gentle and of good nature. Such a strange book, Hestia hummed, getting close to my magic book. I think Hecate calls them grimoires, I am not sure. My Atom.exe had yet to restart. Don't worry, as I said. I won't snitch or say anything, I am simply amazed by the contents of this book, is like nothing I have ever seen before, Hestia informed, confirming my earlier suspicions this book was not a gift from the gods of this realm, it's almost alive. It is, I muttered. Now, before you went off. I wanted to give you this, Hestia smiled warmly at me, as she handed me a handmade scarf. If you are ever hungry, wear this scarf and just think of anything you want as long as homemade, and the magic of the scarf will create some food, or you can use it with the cold, is multipurpose, she giggled. Thanks, but why? I chuckled. Consider it a thanks, Hestia smiled pointing to my fireplace, you have kept the hearth booming with life, and for that, I have to thank you. Isn't the hearth in Olympus? I asked. The hearth is everywhere there is a home willing to accept me, and as long as the home and its inhabitants accept me I will be there to help and protect them to the best of my abilities, and you kept the hearth of your little cabin alive. Hestia answered. I have to be honest, I didn't do it knowing you would come, heck I didn't even know that fireplace was the hearth of my cabin. Normally I would have lied, but to her, I kind of felt it was going to hurt me more than anything. I know, you did it without knowing and without ulterior motives, and for that I am grateful, Hestia smiled, now let us eat. I made some lasagna, I hope you like Italian food. Hestia is definitely the best of Olympus, my name is Adam Garfield Aragon, I smiled, what do you think? Silly, Hestia giggled. This marks the end of part 5 of the story Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.